because he was kind of Anglican Church of Ireland himself, and it was a Catholic mass he'd gone into. No, he didn't mind that because he was fairly not economically minded, ecumenically minded. But the thing was, you see, they do a lot less kneeling, standing and sitting than the other crowd do. So every time he was kneeling, the woman in front would sit back and there'd be the brim of a hat catch him in the head. He couldn't get the timing right to move with the crowd, you know. And mass was nearly over by the time he got it right. And 'twas then he noticed that the woman in front of him, she had a big wide-brimmed hat, and a bit wider than them hats there, and had a big feather sticking out of it, and the feather was kind of tickling his nose every now and then. And he noticed the colour of the feather. 'Twas the nicest blue he had ever seen in his life. And then he got a bit devious, and he thought, well, the tip of that now wouldn't make a lovely salmon fly. So he slipped the hand into the pocket and took out the Swiss Army knife and opened the scissors nice, quite quietly like that. And he deliberately mistimed the next move with the congregation so that the hat came back, and he just snipped the end off the feather, slipped it into the waistcoat pocket, and put away the penknife again. Grand job, well done. Went home straight away after mass and tied a new salmon fly with this beautiful little blue feather sticking out of it. And then, like, a thing like that was a work of art. It should have a name. So didn't he call it the Tipperary Eagle, him being from Tipperary originally? Off down to the black water with him anyway, the rod, and they had the hat with the fly stuck, and they took the fly out of the hat, tied it onto the line, cast it out over as soon as it hit the water, up came a salmon and took it. Every time he landed that fly in the river, didn't he catch a salmon? Well, he was, as well as being in the RAF, he was kind of Republican-minded as well at the time. And below there in Lismore, the fellow that owns the castle down there, what's his name? He owns the fishing rights down there, which kind of irked him a small bit, so he thought one of his lordship's salmon would do nicely for dinner. So he drove down to Lismore, went out on that kind of little beach there, just under the castle by the bridge as you go up for Cappoquin, if you know it. And he was out there, up to his waist in water, the rod under the arm like that, the rod going up and the line coming down, and the glasses on the end of the nose, and he just got the line like that and held it, took the fly out of his cap, and he was just about to offer the fly up to the line, and what do you think happened? Only a big whore of a salmon came clean out of the river, over his hand, took the salmon, down the river, vanished. Well, Timmy came home totally dejected. His Tipperary Eagle gone forevermore, never to be seen again. Well, he was a pest around the house, he was a nuisance, we couldn't get rid of him, he was a face like a wet week. He even took up going to mass in all churches around the country to see if that woman would turn up somewhere with the hat again. But, you know, women, the things they'll do to you, no sign of her. As luck would have it, there was a wedding coming off over there in Canada, in Saskatchewan, a family wedding, a mad affair. And they wanted a kind of a representative of the Irish branch of the family, so we packed Timmy off. And you know how it is with weddings, there's his side and her side, and they're trying to get acquainted. Now in America they did the rehearsals, and they had a rehearsal for everything, including the reception, which was to take place in this huge restaurant, massive long cabin, with a huge fire in the middle of it, fantastic altogether, and they were all sitting round there. And the waiter came out with the menu. Now the menu was the size of 3 pages of the Cork exam now. It was in 3 different languages. French down one side for the French Canadians, English down the other side for the English speaking Canadians, and it was in American down the middle. There was pictures on the American part of it. And you know, he saw down on the bottom, prime prairie steak, 32 ounces, cooked to your liking. Right, he says, that's what I'll have. Anyway, after about 20 minutes or so, didn't his steak arrive on a huge, big, oval plate, sizzling, beautiful steak. He was just about to tuck into the steak when he noticed all the commotion over on the far side of the restaurant. And what it was this kind of, I won't say she was fat now, but she was a big American woman. You can't say that word anymore. It's politically untrue. Am I troubling you? Anyway, wasn't the poor woman choking on something that she'd swallowed? Now, as luck should have it, there were 6 fine lads over there from the Canadian Air Force, and they kind of linked arms around her. Luckily, the 6 of them were there because 4 wouldn't. Now, I can't say she was big, but she was the sort of woman, like, if she put on the underwear back to front in the morning, it would still be comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, they linked arms around her anyway, and on the count of 3, they all went, whoom, like that. Well, the woman's mouth opened, and this big lump of food shot out of it, like Halley's Comet. Now, it was kind of pinky, going up in the air with a big lumpy bit out in the front, and all the straggly little bits on. And there was like cheese sauce dripping on people, and there was peas. And you know what was in it as well? And there was the one thing that weren't on the menu, diced carrots. Anyway, where did it land? Only up on one of these big fans that were going round on the ceiling, and Timmy was saying that like everyone was kind of watching it going round like that as they come away. And anyway, the cook or the waiter came out of the kitchen. Now, the fan had been rewired there by an electrician from Kerry. Mick the Wire was his name. And didn't he put the switch in the opposite the way we do it in Ireland, the right way up, but he didn't account for the Americans having them the wrong way up. And he went to switch off the fan, and instead of switching it off, he speeded it up. So now they're all kind of going like that, watching the fan going up. And next thing, the adhesion of this lump of food kind of ceased on the fan, and it shot off again in another direction, and it came round in a graceful arc. And where did it land? Only down on top of Tim's prime fillet steak. And he was just about to call the waiter over to have this thing removed, and whatever look he gave, he saw this little blue fleck in it. And he said, "Jeez, I know that colour." And then he got his knife, and it was a mouthful of salmon your one was eating. And he parted the 2 flakes of salmon, and what was in between them? Only his Tipperary eagle. Hadn't that big whore of a salmon that had taken the below on Lismore, swam all the way down the Black Water, turned right in Youghal, along the south coast of Ireland, up to Valentia Island, found the transatlantic cable, followed it all the way across to Newfoundland, turned right in Newfoundland, left into the St. Lawrence Seaway, and up into Lake Wishka, where a fella from one of the Murphys from Ballydehob was fishing at the time, caught the salmon, and sold it to a monger, who sold it to the restaurant, who gave it to the cook, who sold it to the woman that puked it and landed it on Tim's prime fillet steak. And believe me, that fly is still below on Tipperary. Tim is long gone now, down to his resting place, but that's still below there in a little glass case, the Tipperary eagle. Go to Mill